Well, hello, IDS 105 students, and welcome to week 5 in the IDS 105 learning community. Y'all, you have officially made it past the halfway point, and you are heading into the last few weeks of your IDS 105 term. The last half of your class is going to go quickly, so please make sure you are paying attention to due dates and deadlines. And if you're stuck or have questions, reach out as soon as possible to your instructor or your advisor. Let's dive into week 5. As always, your experience here at Southern New Hampshire University is important to us. It is our policy and practice to create an inclusive and accessible learning environment. If there are aspects of instruction or course design that present barriers to accessibility, please notify the Online Accessibility Center, the OAC, as soon as possible at 866-305-9430. Or you can email the Online Accessibility Center team at oac@snhu.edu or visit the Online Accessibility Center website. Couple webinar reminders. This is an academic space, so always be mindful of your conduct. This also includes your Brightspace course environment, SNHU Connect, and the First Year Experience YouTube channels. As a reminder, these webinars are not mandatory. There's no grades associated. There's no extra credit points, but hopefully they have been helping you complete your assignments from week to week, and they've made you smile and have a little bit of fun, because that is supposed to be part of the journey too. So week 5, just a couple reminders. As always, make sure that y'all are reading those course announcements and checking your university SNHU email. Your faculty will be posting helpful information, tips, tricks for completing the assignments, maybe going into extra detail of the concepts, helpful reminders, all kinds of things in those course announcements. So please make sure you are checking them in all of your courses. Plus, the university communicates with you via your SNHU email, and sometimes instructors will send reminders or things that you might have to work on or helpful tips or tricks for your success to your university email. So always make sure that you're checking them. As I mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, if you are struggling, if you have fallen behind, if you're not sure about something, if you want to see if you can redo an assignment to get more points, or you missed an assignment and want to see if you can still turn it in, this is the time to get with your faculty or your course instructors as soon as possible. Get the questions answered, get back on track if you've fallen off track. If you have something coming up, make sure you're able to work ahead so you stay on track for your success. You can also reach out to your advisor. Anything course related, please reach out to your instructor. They're the ones grading you. They're the ones that can see what you've turned in, what you have left, and they're the ones that can help make a plan for your success. Do not hesitate to reach out. We want you to successfully pass your classes, so please do not hesitate to connect with your instructor or your advisors for your success. So week 5, module 5, like I mentioned, you are closing in on the last half of your IDS 105 term. This week you have a discussion assignment, and you have your last project draft assignment this week that's going to center around the conflict in your scenario. A couple of assignment reminders. You want to make sure that you are using that template for your project drafts, just like you've been using all term long. You want to have that Microsoft Word or something compatible so your instructors are able to open it up and grade it. As a reminder, those templates are there for ease and for your success. You can open them right up and type right in them, and you use the same one from week to week. A couple other things about your project draft is just a reminder that video note submissions are not permitted for project drafts. You cannot turn those in for this assignment. You do have Office 365 for free in case you still need it. You can find that underneath the help menu of your Brightspace Classroom, and then scroll down to Online Student Services and Office 365 and other software. As a reminder, always make sure you're paying attention to which questions you are answering for the project drafts. This is your last one, so this is all you should have left. However, if you've fallen behind, make sure you know what you're answering and when it is due. Speaking of due dates, with the discussion assignment, as always, your initial discussion post is due on Thursday with your peer responses, and project draft due by Sunday. Of course, you can work ahead on those items in the week as it works convenient for your schedule. Just remember, though, initial discussion post Thursday, peer responses due Sunday, and your project draft due by Sunday. So this week, you are going to be centering in and thinking and learning about conflict, but also some restorative practices to help you work through conflict. So most often, actually, let me rephrase that. What pops up in your head when you think of conflict? Are you somebody that's like, oh, yeah, I don't want conflict. Makes me nervous. I don't like it. Not for me. Or you're like, meh, it's okay to have conflict. Like, just means we have to work some things out. Or like, heck yeah, conflict is for me. No matter where you are, what I wanted to remind you guys, all of you of, is that we're all going to experience conflict at some point in our life. Right. And often the reasons we might experience conflict is because maybe we have a difference of opinion. Maybe there was a miscommunication. Maybe there's a difference in our values. Maybe there's a lack of trust. And what I want you to remember is even if we may not agree on something, or we are raised with different values or backgrounds or sense of beliefs, we can still respect each other, right? And we can still move forward, which is why I like to remind everybody that sometimes conflict can be a good thing. Sometimes conflict, whether personal, professional, or even academically, can help us see the perspectives of others. Often, conflict leads to our feelings and thoughts being seen or heard by others that maybe weren't before. Conflict can help us learn more about each other, and often it can also give us a new lens to help us solve issues or problems. So, I want you to think for a minute about conflict in your own life. Maybe something you're going through right now, or maybe something that you've been through. And what brought the conflict upon you? And then what did you learn from it? Every lesson, we can learn something, right? So just think about it for a minute as you consider conflict. As we've worked through our modules from week to week in IDS 105, we're talking a lot about diversity and different cultures and communication and conflict, because with us not understanding each other, it can easily lead to conflict. So as you think about this week's assignments, draw upon your own experiences in addition to your reading and any videos or supplemental information that's in the required resources to help you answer the questions. For your discussion assignment this week, you're going to be zeroing in on what is one example of a conflict situation you have seen in films, television shows, or books. Share that conflict situation, give the details so other people can understand where you're coming from. And the second part of your discussion post is how could you apply restorative practices, which you're going to learn about in your reading and in the module this week, to the situation that you described in part 1. And then part 3 is how could being vulnerable, having an open mind, and considering others help with navigating the conflict identified in the situation. Those are the questions that you are answering for this week's discussion post. So remember, take a minute and just think about you and your experiences. What's a conflict that you want to talk about that you've seen in films, television shows, or books? Go through the reading and the material to learn about restorative practices and how you could apply those to the conflict situation that you shared. And then number 3, remember, how does being vulnerable, having an open mind, and considering others help you with navigating the conflict identified in the situation? Then you have your project draft. This is your last project draft. So y'all know that in each scenario, whatever scenario you chose, there was also some conflicts listed. This is the module of the term that you want to look at whatever scenario you picked, and then you want to identify one of the conflicts within that scenario to focus on as you answer the questions for the Module 5, Week 5 project draft assignment, okay? Some of you may have been using the conflict from your scenario the whole time when submitting these project drafts. That's okay. You don't have to change anything unless your instructor asks you to do that. So make sure you're reviewing your faculty feedback. However, if you were just focusing in on your scenario, this is the time of the term where you will focus in and pick one of the conflicts underneath your scenario. As a reminder, you can find the scenarios underneath that supporting materials within the project draft assignment. Click on scenario profiles and it'll bring up all of the details and information about the scenarios to help you pick a conflict. Now, I'm going to give you a quick look here at what the Module 5 section looks like that you are submitting as part of your guidebook. You will have 5 questions to answer. You will notice that they are all going to center around conflict, and communication, and using restorative practices. So for example, question number 1 is to describe the components of the conflict represented in this scenario. So whatever scenario you picked, for example, if you picked school and you're zeroing in on like a disagreement about a grade, like what are the components of conflict that are represented in that scenario? Okay. Question number 2, describe different interpersonal communication strategies that can be used in conflict resolution. So go back, think about what we've learned this term about interpersonal communication and those strategies, and what could you apply here in this situation. Question 3, choose an appropriate communication strategy you would employ in this scenario and include an explanation of why you chose that. Question 4, describe the potential challenges of communication in this scenario. So when you're answering this one, think about your overall scenario and the conflict that you picked as a part of it. What are the challenges of communication that you could maybe see? Think about it, get creative, don't overthink it, and answer the question. Question 5, last one, describe the benefits and challenges of using restorative practices to navigate the conflict in this scenario. Again, you are going to be learning about this here in week 5, so make sure you review the reading and the required resources and any supplemental information, and be sure to click through the module content to help you answer the questions, not only for your discussion assignment, but also for your very last project draft. As always, if you're stuck, y'all, connect with your SNH2 resources, get with your instructors, advisors, use the academic support team and those written feedback services. Plus, there's all kinds of tutoring out there, the learning community. You guys are already here watching this webinar, so hopefully it's helpful. You also have the library and the help desk. And don't be afraid to lean on those that are in your life outside the classroom. Have one of your loved ones, like maybe your significant other, parents, kids, coworkers, extended family, whatever it might be, review your project draft questions to make sure that makes sense to them. Lean in on them so you can make sure that you get everything done that you need to in week 5. I wanted to take just a minute and show you guys the classroom space for week 5. So as a reminder, course menu, learning modules, scroll down to module 5, and you want to always click the blue, gets you to where you want to go. You want to make sure that you go through the introduction from week to week, y'all. It can just really be helpful to go through the introduction and then go through the actual module reading. You'll notice you're going to start right off the bat with those restorative practices to help you navigate conflict. As you work through the module reading, make sure that you are scrolling all the way down and clicking over into the required resources section. You will see the chapter that you are assigned to read. There's also some really helpful additional reading and some videos that'll really center in on keeping an open mind and the power of vulnerability, which are part of your assignments this week. Plus, there's some more restorative practices to resolve conflict and build relationships videos that are helpful in here if you kind of want that video learning lesson to help just really support your success on these assignments. As a reminder, you have a discussion assignment this week, which we just talked about, which is all about conflict and restorative practices and also being vulnerable and having an open mind. Initial post due Thursday, peer responses due by Sunday, with your project draft due by Sunday, which as always, click on guidelines and rubric. It's going to pull up an overview of the project. Remember, as you're clicking through it, what to submit is that project template. When you click on that, it looks like this. You guys should have all this filled out already. All that should be left should be this section 5. Remember, you can click on enable editing and you can type right in the template. That's what makes this so easy. Like, you don't have to delete and make a new document. You can literally just type right in this document. So it's there for you to keep you on track and make sure that you're answering the right questions. As a reminder, those scenario profiles are underneath supporting materials. Click on scenario profiles. When you do that, it opens up all the details and information about each different scenario. So remember, like for example, scenario 1 is school. This whole paragraph underneath the extended scenario gives you an overview of the school scenario. And then you have these 3 conflicts. For your project draft, you are just picking one of these. So you're using that one conflict. So for example, if we pick disagreement over feedback or grade from your instructor, you would be thinking about this conflict and the details about it and your scenario that you picked overall to help you answer the questions. You will notice that each scenario has those 3 different conflicts listed. You're only centering in on one of the 3. You do not have to answer all 3. You're only centering in on one of the conflicts in addition to your scenario overview, okay? If you get stuck, if you have questions, reach out to your instructor, reach out to the academic support written services feedback team, and just remember, you're going to be amazing. You got this, and I'll see you in week 6.